This story happened about 1.5 years ago now when I was around 19, and it will always stay with me. It has definitely given me PTSD and a greater fear of men since it happened. I had just moved into a college apartment with friends, only finding out a few months later that there was improper ventilation, leading to humidity and mold in the bathrooms and other spaces. Management would proceed to label it as discoloration and to just leave the windows open and to buy a fan, and to stop taking steamy showers. This was hilarious since none of us even enjoyed hot showers and we'd take at most a lukewarm one. This advice was given after this event, and ignoring my reports I made to law enforcement and the main landlord. However, we were barely adults and had never had to deal with such a terrible mold issue, buying sprays and cleaning the ceilings, crevices, tubs, and so on, constantly in fear of mold inhalation. We found this and leaving our window open with the mosquito screen locked helped the most. This small window, the size of an average human head, about 9 feet off the ground, facing the other apartment's window, was of no concern to us when we were using the bathroom. After all, we had walked outside and made sure that nobody could easily look in. Of course, I didn't predict what could come next. On our front porch, we had some pumpkins and a single white chair that was barely used this night. This will be important later on. One night, after airing out the humid bathroom after a shower, I wished my roommate a good night around 2 a.m. before going to use the toilet. I was wearing the baggiest shirt ever, thankfully, so nothing was exposed while doing so. But I nonchalantly flush and go to wash my hands while glancing to the left, where the window was ajar as usual. And that's when I saw it. In the pitch blackness of night contrasted to the blaring cheap bathroom lights, there was a pale, round orb with a mop of dark hair atop of it. I still cannot explain the feeling that I had, almost like somebody is whispering to you just audibly enough where you need a second or two to register what they just said. That pause and a quick turn to the right, and then a quick spin right back for the window. I saw a white arm leaning into the mosquito screen for support, before whisking away and down out of frame. It moved, and without another thought, I found myself running for the front door, yelling, "Somebody was looking into the bathroom," a few times to my roommate in the living area. On a side note, do not ever chase after a person like this, no matter the case, even if it is hard with adrenaline running through you in these cases. I heard her yelling back while I found myself already at the bottom of the window outside, now hearing scuffling through the wood chips outside our apartment building. It was clearly the sound of somebody escaping through the shadows. There was no mistaking it. I couldn't see anyone through the crappy trees that were planted, and stopped as I could not pinpoint where exactly he ran. I thought about yelling out some cheap insult or threat to scare him, but I found myself feeling waves of shock silence instead. I ran past my roommate, grabbing my phone from inside and calling my mother, who advised me to call a non-emergency number in my town. I did so while sitting on the patio with my self-defense items and my roommate. The lady that answered was annoyed and sounded like she didn't believe me, no matter what I said, because I did not get a good look at him. She simply sighed and said the police will be over to survey the complex a few times, and they hung up. My roommate and I were in shock, just sitting there in silence. We discussed in detail what just happened when we saw a cop car driving around an apartment complex 1 block away, and then immediately driving off after a minute. Obviously, this left me feeling defeated more than before. I got angry, stood up, and examined the area outside my window myself. I saw no footprints or markings that were unnatural, and I even tried to stand on the electric boxes outside to see if I could look inside, And not only were the boxes too narrow for somebody any bigger than myself, as I have a small shoe size compared to the average man, as I guessed he was from his vague appearance, but this would only allow for a view of half the ceiling for a second or two before falling off. This was not how he looked in. I knew from the way that he had struggled to get down. I saw enough of his torso to determine that he was around 5'8", and had to have some other way to easily be staring in like he had. It was also odd that he had darted off without me seeing him, and only hearing him because there are sensors placed around the complex, with one right by our bathroom window. When triggered, they display a bright and blinding light that lights up the whole back area inside of our apartment, right where this occurred. I brainstormed for a second before darting off past it. It didn't go off. When I walked back to my roommate, that was when it did. I tested this twice over with the same results. It only worked when you were not running past it. I felt a sense of relief only to the fact that I was not so crazy. I was the only witness to this, but I could tell that my roommate believed me. We headed back to our front door, talking about what we would do if he came back. Obviously, we would be keeping our window closed from now on, but we had to give him just desserts, we thought in our exhausted and overwhelmed teen heads. That was when I joked about grabbing one of our pumpkins and hitting him over the head with it, when I stopped in my tracks. "Hey, didn't we have a chair there?" I asked. The white patio chair was gone. We looked around and it was nowhere to be found. I almost fell to my knees. That was how he did it. My roommate hurriedly looked through her phone. She remembered having a food order earlier that day with photo confirmation. Approximately 4 hours earlier, there it was, the bag at our door that was sitting directly on a white chair, right next to our pumpkins. The same chair. I immediately posted to social media sites, asking for help finding this distinct chair, thinking that it would be the last hope we could have in finding this pale-faced creep. Not only had he been staring into our bathroom for God knows how long, but he had surveyed our front door area, and possibly looked in through the windows here as well, although the blinds were closed. Our apartment made sure to install the worst kind of blinds that you can never fully close, so if anybody wants to look in even into your bedroom, they would only have to crouch down just a little bit. We felt disgusted and shocked. I left 3 voice messages with the apartment complex the following day, informing them of the incident and about the issues with their ventilation. As you expected, nobody ever got back to me. This was weird since they always did previously. I felt like everybody had failed me in this moment. I did everything I could, but I never received any closure or solace. In fact, I received tips from other college girls in the same area, telling me of very similar experiences, where they sometimes had full view of a greasy older man even touching himself to them. Recently, these past few months too, there have been numerous attacks as well as peeping toms in the same area of our apartments. Funnily enough, the clear descriptions match what glimpse I got of him, but still the police never caught anybody in connection to these cases. I never viewed this area as a bad area and always took every precaution that I could, but I still felt at fault now. I know that I'm not, but I hope that everybody living in a similar situation makes sure to at least close their shower curtains to shield yourself, or close their window when the bathroom is in use at all. I wish that I could buy security cameras, but I know management would file a complaint. I'm moving out soon anyway, so this is the only solace that I have of getting out of there and leaving this all behind. And to the greasy, stinky, pale thing who I stared eye to eye with all that time ago, I hope we never meet again, for your sake.